What's up, guys? It's Tony here. Welcome back to Man Cave Studios. Today I'm going to be doing my second projection of the month for the presidential election. I have a few new calculations right now in terms of vote count. Right now, if the election were to start today, Biden would be guaranteed 212 electoral votes to Trump's 116, so Biden would be firmly in the lead in terms of guarantee votes, and that number can only go up in the next few months. But in terms of likely votes, Biden would start with 36, only 36 that are leaning his way, and Trump would only have 87, while another 87 would remain swing votes from swing states. Now, the map that I'm going to originally make is going to show a lot more than 87 swing states or 87 electoral votes from swing states. But I'll explain each state that's kind of close once I get to it. So I guess I'll start off from east to west, and I'll purposefully leave Maine and Nebraska. I'll leave their swing districts blank. But Maine and its first district are blue, and it's weird. Maine and Nebraska are both weird states. They have two electoral votes for the state, but they also have an electoral vote for each district. Um, so Nebraska is the same way. Both of the second districts in these states are swing districts right now. But moving along, everywhere in New England is pretty blue. Uh, and then New York is blue. West Virginia is red. Virginia is blue. Um, it used to be a swing state. It's not really a swing state anymore. South Carolina is red. Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, all these states. Iowa's a swing state. Minnesota, I'm going to leave blank for now. Illinois is blue. These are all red. Colorado is becoming increasingly blue, and so is New Mexico. I don't think they're going to be swing states in this election. Um, but anyway, Utah is a bit weird. Utah is likely going to Trump, but I'm going to say that it's firmly going for Trump. Um, because there's not enough evidence to show that Biden's going to gain enough momentum there. And same thing for Nevada. I don't think that Trump's going to get enough momentum to overturn it there. So I'll start with the least interesting states right now. This number is a little bit higher. Oh, Alaska and Hawaii also. Um, this number is a little bit higher than the one that I already have. I included the 6 swing state votes from Nevada, and then I also said that Montana, which is now only leaning towards Trump, is going to go for Trump, and then Utah as well. I think that these are pretty much guaranteed for Trump, and then Nevada is pretty much guaranteed for Biden. So I'm going to go with the least interesting ones, not including Nebraska and Maine. New Hampshire was very tight in 2016. I don't think it's going to be as tight this time, and I don't think that Trump has enough momentum to overturn it, so I think New Hampshire is going to be blue. Um, on the same note, Biden is gaining a lot of slack in North Carolina and Georgia, but both of them are still pretty red states, and there aren't really enough polling numbers to show that Biden is going to flip them blue. And the same thing goes for Texas. Ohio is a state that's becoming increasingly Republican, but polls show that it's close. But a lot of what's not factored into these polls, and why I say that states like North Carolina, Georgia, and Texas, even though a lot of the polls show Biden in the lead, a lot of what's wrong with these is that they don't account for the rural vote. And there are a lot of polls, or there are articles on polls recently that say that the same tactics that were used to say that Hillary Clinton was going to win in 2016 by a landslide are actually wrong. Um, so Ohio is going to be red. Iowa has a key Senate race, and I think that the Senate race has a chance to be blue, but Iowa in the presidential race I think is going to be red because people in Iowa kind of approve of Trump, but they disapprove of their senator, uh, who is Joni Ernst. They really hate Joni Ernst there. Um, So another state, Florida is becoming increasingly Republican. I actually did a count based on turnout, and I use calculations from the number of votes cast for the candidate of the Democratic Party divided by uh, the amount of registered Democrats in each election. And I did the same thing with Republicans, and I found that um, by the same formula, Biden would lose by exactly 4,768,540 votes to 4,892,456 votes. So about 130,000 votes. And that was by county, that wasn't statewide. If turnout continues for both of the parties as it's been recently, then there really isn't a clear path to victory for Biden in Florida. So I think that Florida is going to be red, which puts Biden in a bit of a hole. But Minnesota is probably going to be blue. Um, Pennsylvania, a lot of the polls recently in Pennsylvania show that it's more trending towards Biden than it did in 2016. Hold on, let me get it up. The most recent polls show he's ahead by 5.6%, but also in Michigan, polls show that he's up by 9.6%. Um, so I think that even 270 to win is showing that Michigan is pretty firmly in the hands of Biden right now, um, which makes it close. Wisconsin is actually, let me explain something real quick. In New Jersey, we got, if you are a registered voter in New Jersey, you got mailed a ballot. You got mailed a mail-in ballot. You didn't have to request it. They didn't even mail out a request form. They just sent you a mail-in ballot and you could have sent it back. A lot of what's going to go on in some of these swing states is determined by who the governor is and how expanded mail-in voting is. So if you have to have an excuse for mail-in voting, there's going to be less turnout for Democrats because mail-in voting typically favors Democrats because there are more registered Democrats in a lot of these states instead of waiting in long lines. But if you go the step farther and you don't have to have an excuse, but you still have to go out of your way to request one, turnout's going to be higher, but still not that high. And then you go the step farther after that, and you mail a request form, then you're going to get more turnout. And then if you just mail the ballot itself instead of a request form, you're going to get top turnout from Democrats in states where there are a majority of Democrats. So in Pennsylvania, right now, hold on. I want to see how many registered Democrats and Republicans there are in Pennsylvania. Uh, it's not showing it, this link. Um, Hold on a second. Of course, you have to download something to get it. All right. So there are about 800,000 more registered Democrats and Republicans, and there's only 1.2 million um, other party registration or no party registration or just independent in general. And I would imagine a lot of that independent vote is going to go for Biden, but even if it's split 50-50, Biden would still win in terms, or the Democratic Party would still have more support, and it's definitely gaining support as of lately in Pennsylvania. So I think that right now you kind of have to give Pennsylvania to the Democrats, which would put Biden right on the cusp. But Wisconsin hasn't really been trending too favorably toward the Democrats. It's been more so recently, but still a lot of polls are showing that Biden isn't ahead by that much. With some of the most recent polls showing it's only 1%, 4%, but others showing stuff like 9%. Um, so I don't know. I don't know about Wisconsin. Arizona, on the other hand, Arizona is going to be the key to this election. If we have a typical election where we get the results on election night, um, we're going to see the Senate race close first because the Senate race is going to show whether the Democrat or the Republican won, and it's leaning right now toward the Democrat. And if the Democrat wins in Arizona because of bipartisan politics, it would mean that Biden would win that state, because a lot of the same people that would vote for the Democratic senator would vote for the Democratic presidential candidate. But most recent polls show Biden is only ahead by 1% in Arizona, and others only show 4% and 2%. It used to be a lot higher for Biden. So I'll say that Arizona is going to be red right now, and I'll also say Wisconsin is going to be red because it's still not that big of a gap between the two, which leaves the second districts of both Maine and Nebraska. So Nebraska's second district has been trending increasingly red, um, with the House race there supposedly going toward the Republican. And then in Maine, it looks like it's going to be all blue because the second district there, Suzanne Collins is trailing really badly. She's a senator. But also in the House race there, well, let me get the actual stats up first. In Nebraska's second district, the Democrat Eastman is only winning by 1%, but that was the only poll taken this year. He's only winning by 1%. But in Maine, uh, the second district of Maine, it shows a bit higher, but not too much. The most recent poll also shows 1%, but there have been others that show 6%. Those were from a while ago, though. Those were actually from 2018. So there haven't really been any official polls in Maine yet, but it's increasingly trending more Democratic. So we would have a tie in the Electoral College, which would mean that because of the crappy system that we have, we would have Trump as president, and we would have probably Kamala Harris, who's ultimately going to be Biden's VP choice, as a vice president, because we will have probably a 50-50 Senate, um, and then I can't imagine that, or how do I describe this? Let me actually get up the Senate map real quick. Because a lot of it depends on who wins in the Senate. So Democrats are going to retain the House, but the way that things go, if you look at this map, some of the districts, or even if you just take this map as a whole, it's not based on how many representatives there are. The House determines the president, but it's based on how many states are red or have red House districts. So it's kind of like a majority of the House, or a majority party in the House in a certain state would get to decide who wins that state. So a lot of these states have more Republican districts than Democrat districts because of gerrymandering and stuff like that. So states like Maryland would actually be red. And I'll just make Maryland red to show you. States like Pennsylvania would probably be red. But even if they weren't, I mean, you take the amount of Democratic states 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. About 18 states, 19 including Hawaii. DC doesn't count. Oh, 20 including Virginia, actually. My bad. So Republicans would ultimately decide who wins the presidency. Um, Let me fix this again, 'cause this looks wrong. What was the other state? Pennsylvania? Alright. And then the Senate would get to decide who wins. Hold on. I want to try to get this up in another tab. There we go. Did that work? Yeah, it did. Nice. Alright. So this is my projection for the Senate right now. This is based on the most recent polls, though. Right now, Montana, Steve Bullock is winning by a lot in Montana. Teresa Greenfield is winning slightly in Iowa, but Georgia has a special election, um, so we don't really know. The one election, the one that was supposed to happen, is going to be, or that was supposed to happen anyway, is going to be red probably. But the special election is probably going to go toward the Democrat. At least that's what recent polls show. Um, and then Maine is looking blue right now because Suzanne Collins is probably going to be voted out. New Hampshire is looking blue. Kentucky is probably actually going to be red, even though Amy McGrath is giving a pretty good effort there. North Carolina is surprisingly trending blue right now with the Senate race. I'll check the most recent poll real quick, but it's looking like Democrats are probably going to take back the Senate. Um, yeah, Cunningham is winning, and this was done just today. The Democrat Cunningham is winning by 4%. So let's just even say that that goes red. Democrats still have control of the Senate. Even if they, you know, lose out on one of North Carolina, Kentucky, Iowa, or even if they lose two of them, they would still win the overall Senate race. Um, and then you never know if you'll get like a faithless elector. The Supreme Court's set to vote on that. Um, we'll see, but it would be if the Electoral College ends in a tie, which it looks like could potentially happen right now. Um, then we would have Trump as president, and then probably again Kamala Harris as vice president. So the vice presidential pick is gonna be the one that actually gets in the White House in this scenario, along with Trump. But if I were to make any changes right now, I would say that the Arizona Senate race is looking increasingly blue, so Arizona is probably going to be blue. Wisconsin has a Democratic governor. They're probably going to expand mail-in voting, so Wisconsin is probably going to be blue also. If I were a Trump supporter trying to convey the message that there is a chance that Trump can still win, I would say that Pennsylvania isn't entirely for Biden yet, so that could still be red. Uh, and then Michigan, well, Michigan's actually probably going to be blue. You could say the same about Arizona, that it hasn't gone for a Democratic candidate in a while. Either way, I don't see any candidate really breaking 300 electoral votes anymore. Um, my projection, and this is biased because I'm a Democrat, looks like this right now, um, with Biden having 290 electoral votes. What's going to be interesting this election is when we get the results, because we're probably, if we expand mail-in voting and we see some of the same results that we saw yesterday, a lot of key swing states might not even be decided for as much as a week, because Kentucky had their primary yesterday, and their Senate race still hasn't been decided yet because of mail-in voting, and it won't be decided until like June 30th. So if we have to sit and wait for a week after the election, which is more than possible, that it would be very frustrating, uh, and it would be very intense, but it would be weird. Well, my prediction is that we'll find out at 1 p.m. from a notification on all our phones. We'll find out at 1 p.m. on the following Tuesday, November 10th, because that's when some of the key swing states are going to let some of their votes go. And we'll find out like in chunks. We'll find out like at 9 in the morning that, you know, if we're looking at the swing states right now, let's see. These are some of the key swing states. North Carolina. We'll find out like at 9 a.m. that North Carolina went red, and then we'll find out at 11 a.m. that, hey, Michigan went blue. And then we'll be like, oh boy. And then we'll think, oh, this is it, and then, Pennsylvania will go blue, and Florida will go red, and then by 1 o'clock, it'll be like Wisconsin and Arizona still undecided, so then we'll find out maybe 1 to 3 o'clock, oh, Arizona went blue, and then that'll be the election, and we still won't find out Wisconsin until like 5 p.m. that evening, or 6 p.m. or something. So we'll find out, a lot of people will find out while they're at work who won the election, and you know, it'll definitely cause weird, uh, you know, if I'm getting like my phone's blowing up in class and I don't have a class really at 1 o'clock, so I should be good with that next semester just for me. But we'll all be finding out like from our offices. It won't be like a normal election night. It'll be like, oh, we won't see what's gonna happen tonight. So just sit here and wait for the next week, and we'll see. And every little buzz in your pocket, your phone going off is going to be like a shocking revelation or something in the election. Uh, or you'll think that it is, but it's really not. Something like that. Um, that's at least how it's going to work for me, probably. If mail-in voting is expanded and we don't decide the election for a while, which again is probably going to happen, um, because COVID seems to be picking up everywhere except for New Jersey and New York and Michigan. Um, well, actually, Michigan's starting to pick up too, so never mind. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, try to make a good point. Don't try to just say Trump landslide 2020. You're not smart in any way if you say that. You know, you provide evidence and cool, I'll approve your comment and I might respond to it. But just saying Trump landslide isn't going to make it happen. So, congratulations on commenting. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and peace out, broskies.